this computer. All right. Welcome to our town hall for this month. I'm going to turn it over to Nicole, El Presidente of CALA, and
Yes.
let her take over.
Thanks, Peter. So I think the first thing, I might move around the agenda just a super teeny bit. I know we were going to talk about a conference recap, but I just want to jump a little bit more to the CALA board changes that are fastly approaching the CALA team. So I'm not sure if most of you know, but for those that don't know, the end of my reign as the CALA president will be at the end of this month. And Janet Cornell will be the new president of CALA. We have a great group of board members that are moving around into positions. I will still be an active part of CALA as in the past president position, but also will be trying to shake the tree of Medicaid and the whole billing system and hopefully get a little bit more support with that as part of the board of CALA. We also will be transitioning our executive director, Peter Brissett, after many years of just amazing service and guidance to us. I think we decided this last conference was it your 27th conference, Peter? Was that something like that?
Something like that. I think that's, yeah, it's a lot.
It was a lot.
That doesn't count all the other things like this meeting and everything else, but just big conferences.
Right. Exactly. So Peter is sadly transitioning into the world of digital marketing, even more immersive than he is now. I'm sure we'll still see him around every once in a while, but we are interviewing new executive directors and companies that will support us in that role. We're definitely going to be sad to see Peter go when that transition happens. But we've done some great, amazing interviews that we're super excited for. So just a little bit update on that. Probably around the beginning of November, keep a close eye on your emails. We'll email everybody the new positions of the board and contact emails and information. But the info@CALA email will still be a great resource for anybody to get a hold of anybody in regards to CALA. So just wanted to kind of start with that. And then we can lead into the recap of conference. I am not sure how many here on the call attended conference, but it was definitely a learning experience and I think really opened our eyes to some things that were going on in the industry that we didn't know about. It was a great collaboration moment and also a great learning moment as to how to support our residents living in assisted livings. If you attended, know that we did collect emails for those additional 6 hours for those of you that are looking for the administrators training. We are processing and going through those, and we will be getting those out in the next week or two. And I would say it's safe to say if you don't receive that by the beginning of November, for whatever reason, please shoot us an email and we'll make sure to get you those 6 credit hours. But other than that, we are still in the process of wrapping that all up from those of us in leadership's point of view as well. But yeah, all in all, it was a great turnout and a great learning event. I don't really have much more to follow up regarding that as of right now, unless someone has questions.
I don't have a question, Nicole, but I want to commend you guys. You guys did an awesome job at organizing that. It was fun. It was very educational, and I thank you everybody that was involved in that. It was very nice.
Well, thank you for joining us. It was amazing to have you. You were in a lot of my sessions and you were very valuable.
Thank you.
Really, really appreciate you being there and your team. And
Yes.
so thank you.
What I
So
have to say, it's nice to see you. You guys come from afar. I mean, it's not like an hour away. You guys make an effort to come to a lot of the conferences, which really gives us peace of mind that you're checked into the industry and that you're, you know, trying the best you can to stay compliant and, you know, just be involved to keep up to date with what's going on, because it's changes happen so quickly in our industry, you know.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
excellent. So I know Janet is going to speak to this a little bit about, you know, everyone kind of being aware and as we go through the times of the medical board hearings for these new statutes and laws that will go into regulation effective January 1st. Please watch your emails, because as we progress to January 1st, this is one of those hurry up and wait things to where they really, you know, especially SB 22-154, the whole goal was to get this, you know, up and running January 1st, and them surveying with the new regulations, which is going to put us in kind of a crunch time to get all of our policies and procedures updated after it clears the Board of Health, and also, you know, get our staff trained in areas of admission and discharges if you're not someone that does those. So it's going to be kind of a quick process. So make sure you keep an eye out on your emails regarding that, the dementia bill, all the changes January 1st. There's going to be a lot probably that'll happen upon us really quickly as well. In 2024.
Nicole, I'm assuming you mentioned everybody. Hi, everybody. It's Rachel. Yeah, I'm sure you mentioned everybody about the Board of Health being postponed, right?
No, we haven't. We're gonna do that. in a minute.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. And
Okay.
because it was just postponed for the dementia bill. It wasn't postponed for the for SB 22-154.
Okay. Oh, okay.
That's still going through on October 18th. I'm gonna have Peter send out later today into tomorrow, just kind of a reminder if you would like to testify either for or against SB 22-154, the way the health department is proposing it to the Board of Health. You know, we definitely encourage you to speak your voice and become an active participant in those events. You know, we were kind of up against a wall with it because Senator Danielson definitely wrote the statute pretty black and white. So there was not even a lot of wiggle room for the health department where they wanted to hopefully take opportunities to do some changes. They weren't even allowed to because of how clear and concretely she wrote it. So kind of like we had talked about at conference, there was only so much we could do, and we're kind of, unfortunately, all of us are stuck with it, including the health department. And it looks like Peter just put the link in. So also, if you want to attend the call, you can be a participant and just listen as well. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
We do fill that out for.
Was
Nicole.
there a question? Yeah.
Nicole.
Do you mind muting everyone, Peter, except for the people that unmute themselves to speak? I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, was that
Yeah, I have a comment, Nicole. This is Christy Ashby.
Hi.
I got an email on Monday, and from what I'm reading it is that they did postpone the chapter 7 to November 15th along with the dementia training. So I was just thinking that maybe that might need to get clarified, because I think it was all moved. So anyway,
So
if somebody can clarify.
Dementia training. Janet, did you?
You know what? I looked it
Did
up.
you
It
see just
said
the dementia, or was it?
yeah. Now, here's what it says: a delay in Board of Health hearings impacted Chapter 7 assisted living residents concerning Senate Bill 22-154, the Safety Bill, Senate Bill 22-079, and the Direct Care Staff, Senate Bill 22-53, the visitation. And the Chapter 5 nursing facilities, that doesn't, so it is all three of those. It looks like that got delayed until November.
So maybe they just couldn't meet quota for that day's meeting. We had that happen when we did the new regs. They couldn't get enough of the Board of Health to attend the meeting on that day, and people had like other things going on, and so they didn't have enough to make a quorum. I remember
Well, it
that.
looks
So
like
yeah,
in their email, they're stating that they were supposed to implement the dementia and the visitation were supposed to go into effect June 1st for the visitation and August 23rd for the dementia, but there were shortcomings related to the publications that those actually went into effect. So that's looks like why they have to put those back in there. It looks like, yeah.
so both of those bills are already supposed to be in effect.
Yeah, that's what the email says because I'm reading it off my phone. Yeah. And they didn't check all the boxes for the Administrative Procedure Act in regarding to the planned hearing. So they must have to go backwards to check some boxes off. Yeah.
Yeah, because I did know that they had rushed the notification to all of us, because usually we were getting a lot of emails, hey, this is coming up. And I know we like had one, and then it was, I mean, we had just found out maybe 2-3 weeks before that they were having hearings. So yeah, no. So just keep watching your emails again with links to testify. The one that Peter put in the link will still work for November. But if you want to testify, please feel free to do so. Your voice is important. So yeah. Janet, do you have anything else about GRC?
You know what? Like Nicole stated, we spent months on the stakeholder process, and there's just not a lot of wiggle room. I'm going to dive into it a little better to see if they will firm up their ideas of where fines are necessary. We might have a little bit of firming up to do there. That's probably the most detrimental part of that bill. Everybody can get over that the 30-hour certificate is no longer valid and move on and get 10 more. We can all live with, but the fines are issues. And the one that she sewed up pretty tightly is the challenging a discharge. So, and as that gets adopted, we talked about it a little bit in conference. There's several pieces of paperwork in your homes that will need to be updated to reflect notifying families that they can challenge a discharge. That's not been clearly defined yet. So after the Board of Health meeting, we'll dig into it and provide that information for you, because, there's at least 4 things that you have to outline and change your documentation on between your house agreement, your house rules, your disclosures you give to families, those kind of things. So we'll update you when we know for certain. Steve Cox also at the conference was, reluctant to give out information. What you don't want to do is you don't want to give out information and then it gets changed somehow or another, because then you've given out some faulty information. So that's why we're holding the line on waiting till it's firmed up to put that information out there. So we'll be doing that. And then CALA will support you guys in learning what this means and how it affects your daily operations. I was hoping the hearing would be in October to give us just a slightly bit more time to develop our training programs of what we can do to support you guys from CALA. But like usual, our feet will be to the fire in November, because 6 weeks from then they will go into effect. It is written in the bill that they have to go, the Senate Bill 154 has to go in effect January 1st of 2024. So I don't know if there's much wiggle room in that one. That was written by Senator Danielson, and she can be pretty strict to work with. Let me put it that way. So yeah,
she's not a good collaborator. She's definitely not a good collaborator. We will have till June of 2024 though to get the additional hours.
Yeah.
As an administrator.
Yeah. So anyway, and that's where we're going. We're starting up our GRC committee meetings this week to try to see what we can evaluate for the upcoming legislative season. We have gotten rumored that Senator Danielson is passing another bill. Unfortunately, our industry has been plagued again with in the news stuff for nursing homes of open bed sores and pressure sores and stuff like that. It was not a good article. And then our other articles seem to just keep resurfacing as needed. So we really need to, I think we as an industry need to do some image work, I guess. I don't know. But, you know, we can deal with that. As usual, if you can invite any of your senators or you know, House representatives into your house or have a conversation with them, that always helps them. A lot of those people still do not understand the difference between skilled nursing and assisted living. So,
and I do know that our lobbyist is very, very passionate. Jennifer Mello, and we'll again start to put this stuff out so that you guys, once we get closer to the session starting, she likes to be attached to those emails as well so that she can be part of that conversation. She can follow up with whoever you invite to your location after a tour, just again so that she can start using them as a resource, because as we give the tours to those of them in our district, then she kind of can shake out who might be a good supporter of ours, who might not. So it's really important. And we'll put out a big, huge procedure again, probably around the beginning of November. I know that I talked to Jennifer yesterday and she's kind of tweaking that just to make sure that we can, you know, get you guys a good format of what to say when you call, what to say when you email. And then she is going to contact Danielson's office to see if she can get any hidden insight as to what a bill that she might be working on might look like, and what the focus of that bill is going to be this time. So we'll see what she finds out. Yeah.
The other thing I probably should, I've been doing a lot of mock surveys, and Steve reiterated at the conference that they're finding a lot of places that are getting surveyed are getting upwards of 16, 20, 25 survey tags. A lot of what I'm seeing are based on the regulations that went into effect 20 of 21 or June of 2021. There's new policies and procedures that are out there that some people are missing. You have to have a list of chemical compounds that are in those are all the things in your building that say keep away from children. So they're looking at that. So everybody who's on the call needs to kind of get their brain wrapped around the new Chapter 7, and they are changing in January again, but there's some sections in there that are, you know, different than they were that people are getting cited on. So,
well, having an MSDS has actually been in regulation since 1990s.
has it really?
Like one of the first things, yeah. So make sure you have an MSDS, and make sure anything that says keep out of reach of children is kept out of reach of everybody under lock and key. So yeah. And I mean, he did say they're seeing as much as 16 deficiencies, but he didn't say that was the norm. I thought he just said they're seeing as much as 16 to 20 deficiencies on some surveys. So
yeah. So anyway, heads up, they're finding stuff.
Mm-hmm. Also, Dee Rita is taking her position very seriously. She is training just not assisted living surveyors, but is also training individuals that survey other environments. And so I know she reached out to me, and a group of surveyors are going to be just touring. They're not going to be looking at anything or conducting a survey or interviewing residents, but just so these surveyors can start to see more and the diversity in different types of settings. So even like one of the surveyors that'll be coming will be a nursing home surveyor, will also be a home health surveyor, will be an assisted living and an adult day surveyor. So her goal is to have surveyors kind of understand the transition from one care, area to another, and also so they just have more general knowledge as to what our environments look like. Also, in case we go into another pandemic and we're under another public health order where, surveyors of all types have to enter different types of provider types, they kind of at least know what they're looking at, and it's not foreign to them. understand a little bit more about how it functions. She did say that if they come into your community and obviously someone is being neglectful or being abused, they're mandatory reporters and they will come back and survey you. But for the most part, they're just coming to, kind of educate the surveyors. So she was and wanted to do several of these across, the state and even into some of the outlying areas. So don't be surprised if she contacts you, but she's really excited about her new position. So hopefully that's a positive for us in the long run. So now I would just kind of like to open it up to any member feedback and see if anybody has any questions, concerns, resources that are needed, anything we can help with.
And as we look at education calendar coming up, like what are things you guys would like to see? Is there training we've done in the past you want us to repeat? We can look at, the 6 hours of training or the 10 hours. So if you went to the conference, you got 6. So you need 4 more. But if you didn't get the 6 and you need all 10, are there certain areas you would like to get that training in that we could put together for you guys? So any thoughts, ideas, feedback on that?
Peter, I thought of a training on just to get some people up to speed that have not paid attention to the new regs. Sherry Bonham found a copy of the old regs, so we could kind of cross-reference what were the things that really did change, and what are the surveyors seeing that there perhaps was different, from 2008 regs to 2021 regs. I don't know if that would be helpful to anybody. Anybody got any ideas on that?
I mean, it's always interesting, and as the whole department says frequently, most of the time the people on these calls that are active in their associations aren't the ones that get 16 to 20 deficiencies. Most of us are all ones that are probably pretty familiar with, the movement from 2008 regulations and all of those, crosswalks that they did and all those links they had to show us the old ones and the new ones and what to do. But I mean, we need our additional hours as well. And so, one of my key points to Steve when we were talking about this, where we had a little bit of wiggle room on this part, was like those of us that are doing our job would like to get our 10 hours in something that we feel like we're learning, that we could use to elevate our industry, opposed to just like, oh, teach me how to budget, which those of us that have been in successful businesses for 18 years, pretty much, 20 years, some of you on here even longer than that, like pretty sure you know how to budget, make sure you have milk in the house. So if you guys have any ideas, we would love to hear them, because we want those hours to be useful.
I had an idea. Would anybody think it's helpful to see industry trends outside of Colorado? I did find that the average occupancy is going up again. It was at 83% and it's now close to where it was pre-pandemic. I didn't realize that during the pandemic, the average occupancy across assisted livings in the United States was about 77%. And then it slowly crawled to 83. And I did see the other day that it's breaching on 85% occupancy. So that is good, because that makes our industry a healthier industry. There's a lot of people losing money at 77% and even at 80, 85%. I think a lot of the money in assisted living comes from those last couple of residents, or that last threshold there.
I think we had a lot of people transition during COVID to the end of life, unfortunately. When you hear that there were a lot of assisted livings that were losing 12 out of 16 residents, or were losing, half of their census, I'm sure it was hard to recover from that.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to hear that they are. And that also means that people are getting more staff so that they can increase their numbers to support that. Today is National Mental Health Day, if those of you didn't know. And so I'll just put in a little bit of a plug for our upcoming education session that we worked really hard on an ombudsman up north that now went back to the health department to be a surveyor. But that education training, it's still going to be in November, right, Peter? He's muted, sorry.
I am muted.
Yes.
That training is later this month.
Okay, sorry.
So that's an hour and a half online training, which will count towards our.
And you'll get an hour and a half for your hours. Yep.
And that is October 25th. So coming up in a couple weeks here. It's a Wednesday, so it's different from our normal time that we normally have it. So it's Wednesday 2 to 3:30. But yeah, that's coming up on the 25th.
And it's going to be a section of 3 different educations. This first one is really just, how do we support residents that might be struggling, having a bad day, might be having some behaviors, how to do redirection. It is a great series of educations that they're offering up north with their mental health center. And they've got like this big, huge boots on the ground initiative where they want to support individuals so they don't fail in assisted livings because, they struggle with some behaviors till we can get them back on track. And as we all know, that's kind of one of the biggest things we do and sometimes lead to discharge. So part of the reason we're doing it on Wednesday is because, it was one of the only times this speaker was available for us, and she's just amazing. So excellent. Well, geez, you guys are making my last town hall super easy. I don't even know what else to talk about. So I know Janet could find something to talk about for the next 30 minutes.
Oh, just put me on the spot here. Yeah, I'd love to know.
But I also would be willing to give everyone 30 minutes back in their day, because if you're like me, you're in the middle of trying to figure out how to get your RPP program, get your flu shot clinic scheduled and completed and all the paperwork up and running. So I know like many of you we're still running around a little bit crazy. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, Eric.
Hello, sorry. A simple question. So I'm up in Fort Collins, and my wife and I are still in the process of trying to get state FGI review done. And my question is this, in terms of the FGI review. I know that the state statutes say that reviews shall be done in a timely fashion. And I understand that gives a little bit of wiggle room, but we're now 4.5 months into the queue. And it seems to me like at a state level, everybody's like, oh, well, we've just got a lot of things and it just takes a lot of time. And I'm kind of like, well, if it's going to take that much time, then maybe the process needs to be changed, because, what they don't tell you is that, oh, well, you could just sort of submit a piece of paper that says blah, blah, blah to get in the queue, as long as you do it, as long as you have all of your stuff in 6 months. Now, had I known that, as opposed to doing what I thought was the right thing, which is get your stuff together before you get in the queue, or mostly together, it seems to me that the state is not really, I don't define 6 months as timely now. And I don't know how to approach asking that question in such a way that somebody at state doesn't get their feathers ruffled, et cetera, et cetera.
I know where your house is, Eric.
Well, but
I know. Exactly.
I can honestly say the person that runs FGI is not part of the survey team. So that's kind of a good thing. But I mean, I think I agree with you. I mean, I think I would just be honest like you are. I mean, that does seem a little bit unfair. But we are hearing it takes 6 months. I mean, I haven't heard anything less, Janet. Have you?
No, and I've actually heard some places that they had some things that were not compliant, and they got back on the list at the bottom of the list again, because they came in and said, okay, you need this, this, and this, and then they went to the bottom of the list again. So
And had to wait another 6 months.
mhm.
So we feel your pain. I'm so sorry you're going through that. It definitely is a challenge to entering the industry. And especially if for our industry partners that want to support individuals with, Medicaid, that's a lot of time that you're not able to have people in your home or your community. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Christy, are you hearing any ways to get around that as well? Because I know you and Janet being the two consultants on the call, I know I haven't, but have you, Christy?
I haven't, unfortunately. Sorry.
Somebody once told me you can get a provisional license. I don't know if that covers some of the FGI stuff, because we'd have to maybe look into provisional licensing.
Well, we couldn't do that because we don't have like a fire sprinkler system yet. Like basic stuff that would be required, which is fine. It's just that if you're going to have a 6-month process, then, and really it's a matter of getting in the queue, not having your stuff necessarily all dialed in. I think that needs to be like very transparent so that you don't get into a situation like we did, which is like, okay, we go to planning and zoning and then we get denied, and then we go back and then we get accepted, and then the neighborhood appeals, and so we have to go to city council. So unless you're willing to kind of cross your fingers and say, well, if planning and zoning did it, city and council will be fine with it, and say, I'm going to put all this money into it to get in, to get in the queue and whatnot, like you're taking a pretty big financial risk on an unknown. And so, like I said, if the answer is, well, you need to be in the queue, it's like, okay, I'll submit my piece of paper. Let me know that so that I can make like an intelligent decision, like 3 months ahead of my last, city council meeting or whatnot, so that I'm at least in the queue, not all my stuff is together and then I've like burned another 4 months and then, it's another 6 months. So.
Have you told them that?
Yes. I will say Marshall Cook runs the FGI review. He's a great guy. He's very open to communication, but they're just like, well, we're fully, we're doing the best we can. And I'm like, well, if the best you can is like 2 per week and you've got 100 in the queue, then that's not timely. That's not, it's just not. And since that timely thing hasn't ever been defined clearly, I don't think it puts any pressure on FGI to do anything different than what they're doing.
Right, right. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Everybody that goes through FGI just wants to pull their hair out if they even make it through.
I mean, we have known individuals that have gone and started through the process and then have stopped and been like, yeah, I give. I'm not even going to do this. And it's unfortunate. It really is, because we know too, for the small owners, like the only way you're doing this is if you actually care. And there's not a huge amount of money to be made off of an 8 or 10 or even nowadays 12 bed, assisted living home. So like it is unfortunate that there's not something they can't do to expedite the process.
Yeah. It is what it is. I just didn't. Yeah.
Eric, how long is it taking you?
Well, we got in the queue on June 14th, and we are currently number 19.
But like before that, this whole process in general.
The whole process? Oh my God, this is. I don't know that retrospectively, I'm not sure that I would have done it if I had known it was going to take this long, but we will be in it we're in it like 2.5 years
Yep.
right now.
Yep.
Bought the house, great. Did a little bit of a remodel so that we could get 2 people in, and that's helped. But then the process of, planning and zoning, denied our initial plan. So then we had to go back with a smaller plan. And then the neighbors decided to appeal because they're all kind of all horrible people. And well, and then that was another 4 months. And then we got approved, and that's great. But, it's like, when do you hire your contractor, and when do you put in this other large chunk of money? Are you going to do that before you really know, or are you going to wait until you know? And so we did. And then you're in an FGI queue that's another 6 months.
Yeah.
And, it's yes, I think FGI presents significant challenges in my mind, looking back on it now.
Well,
FGI,
and then Eric, if you had an HOA, there's a whole nother challenge right there. I don't know if you're in the HOA or not.
The HOA deferred to the city. The
Oh.
HOA realized that if the HOA raised a stink, there was probably going to be a civil suit. And so their lawyer straight up said, if this goes through with the city, we are going to approve this. And so that's not been so bad. Kind of a 2-for-1, I guess. But, I think that the FGI is good in theory. I think that for a small operator, it is pretty near cost prohibitive in the 21st century in terms of what you would need to do to get, either to get an old house up to code, or just take a house, an existing house, like to get it to match FGI is, I don't know how that works. I don't know how that works anymore. We're making it work, but it's, I don't know what that looks like moving forward, for small operators. So anyway.
That's what we were afraid.
Yeah. Yeah.
We would listen, but that's what we were afraid of. We were very, very afraid that it was going to be cost per a house from the ground up. But thank you for sticking it out.
Yeah. No, it's been a learning curve, but yeah, it is. It literally is. I asked my contractors, like, if we were to build a house from the ground up, how much would it cost? And it's going to come in at the same cost to build new that it's going to cost for the house that we bought. That's, it's relative. It's like 15 years old. It's not super old, but the cost of the house plus bringing it up to code or bringing it up to snuff is the same as new build. And so what does that mean for the industry moving forward? Because if that's the case, I don't know. Some of these older places are getting pretty long in the tooth. And if you want to do an upgrade and you have to do all of the upgrades that FGI says, boy, that's going to put people in a pickle.
Yeah, it does.
Yep. Does anybody else have anything? All right. Well, I just want to thank everyone for being so incredibly supportive of me over the past, I don't even remember how many years I've been president now, because it was during COVID. And to be frank, I don't know, I think I have a little bit of amnesia or PTSD from those times in the world of being CALA president and long hours on calls with Peter Myers and the health department and everything that was going on. But thank you all. And again, because I know everybody on this call, honestly, makes an assertive effort to be a good provider, to care for their residents, like Steve says, and even Elaine and Dee have always said, like, the people that are involved in associations are always the least of their problems. And, as much as we try with tooth and nail to pull people to be interactive and to be involved. They just choose not to. But thank you for being the shining stars in our industry, for caring for those that are aging in Colorado, for being a voice and advocating for not only residents, but your employees, so that people have choices of where they get to live and age. And those of you that take Medicaid, you'll always have a very special place in my heart, because I'll tell you what, that's becoming more and more a tough pill to swallow, but a population that needs a nice, amazing, safe, warm, loving place to live as well as we age. So thanks so much. And I know that like I said, you'll be in amazing hands with Janet, and the rest of the board. The rest of us aren't really going anywhere other than Peter. And personally too, again, I have to thank Peter Brissett. You know, I mean, if you've been any part of CALA for any sort of years, CALA and Peter have kind of been synonymous with each other. And so I must say we will definitely feel his absence as we transition to, I'm sure, another very well-apt executive director, but still his absence will be felt for certain.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
You guys will be fine, I'm sure.
we'll be fine, but we'll miss you. You might not miss us as much.
I'll
but
still
we will.
show up for happy hours and stuff, so I don't want to miss the fun part.
Good. Well, thanks everybody so very much. And just keep watching your emails. You know, we've got a lot of work ahead. We always say that, unfortunately, but thank you so much.
All right, guys.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Nicole and Peter, and everyone. Have a great night.
Thanks, you guys.